Mod 2 is gonna be of bug bites. Decided I'd commemorate their bloody drink by printing 3 circles on my ankle. Perfect.
There we go. All right, here we go. This is gonna be.
You are the fucking man, Dread. Hello, can I have a team?
Oh man, Beta Wolf, thank you very much for it. Hello, can I have a team? I want to. Hello, team. Team. Yeah, we'll turn off the music. I'm not recording right now, though. I don't know how to turn on. Actually, I don't know how to turn on a local record. Here we go. There we go. We're good. We're good to go, guys. All right, so what I'm about to do is something I've never really done before, but it's something you guys have asked of me for a really long time. Breaking production already. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna get right into it. And you guys want to know a general. This is not like the only. I want to preface this entire thing beforehand. Now, what you guys are about to see is not the only way to play the game. In no way and what I'm about to say about each and every one of these maps says that it's the only way to win the game, it's the only way to play the map, and that everybody else who doesn't do what Dreadnaught says is just flat out stupid. They're just stupid. That is not what the case is at all. That is not by any means the situation. It's more than anything, but it is a general strat that you should approach the game if you don't understand how to play it, or at all, if you don't understand why this is the reason most people play the maps this way, at least when it comes to competitive and everything else. So it's just going to be a TLDR kind of thing. It's going to be really long, actually. Breakdown of each and every one of these maps and kind of what you should be thinking when you're playing them, what you want to be looking for when it comes to maybe a draft a little bit, but just really just kind of a touch up on each and every one of the maps. I don't want anybody to think, like I said, this is the only way to play the game here. So we're going to start out with Tower of Dooms. So right out the gates, Towers of Doom, what are some things that we already know right out the gates? So more importantly than anything, what I want to talk about is what lane is the most valuable map lane in the game. Why is it the most valuable lane in the game, and why you should be playing it around in a specific way. So let's start out that this map is one of the medium to larger size maps. I sadly actually have not been able to play this map competitively ever at any point in time. I really wish that I had, because I definitely like the map a lot, but what I want to talk about here is how this map can be ran in two different situations, and what that is a laning phase where you want to run a 1-1-3, which is essentially one person in one lane, one person in another, and then 3 in the other lane. Typically, I would suggest the bottom lane be the lane that you prioritize, and the reason why the bottom half of the map is more valuable than the remainder for the most part when it comes to this map is because that is where those little seedling guys right here, you see these little puppies? Those guys, oh gosh, you guys can't see my mouse. Here's one, here's the other. Those guys are the guys who shoot for core. So not only do they help you get the fort in the bottom half of the map, which is neat and beneficial, but more importantly than anything, they are the ones that are going to be threatening legal on the bottom half.
Is out in front of 4 girls in the red light district of Amsterdam, and I have no idea how I got into this situation.
1412, welcome to the Dreadnaught Club. Thank you for resubscribing. But anyways, what I wanted to talk about is, so the bottom lane is the most valuable lane in the entire map, right? As long as you get that fort, each one of those camps then threatens a core, which is 3 shots. Keep in mind the standard default shots are going to be 4-4, so it's almost the equivalent of an entire one, but keep in mind by you owning their fort, that changes the numbers. Either way, view that is the most valuable lane in the entire map, without a doubt, across the board. So because both of those now go to that lane no matter what. The rest of it should just be, honestly, you can run a 1-4 situation on this map, essentially having one person in the lane, 4-man with wave clear and kill potential, go from mid to bottom, mid to bottom, mid to bottom. You can also do it to top as well. This map, unlike some of the other maps that you run a 4-man, there is no defensive strategy advantage to being on the bottom half of the map versus the top half of the map. So what you see on Tomb of the Spider Queen, we'll touch up on in a second, is Tomb of the Spider Queen top lane is far safer than the bottom lane. Bottom lane safer than top lane, but that's not the case here. If you are to gank, you can come out behind your opponent here. You can come out behind your opponent here. You can even go below, whereas top, it's a little bit harder just because this site here, but ultimately you can come behind your opponents there and there as well. So the 1-4 strategy on this map is viable as well, but because of the size, it's typically less common. It all comes down to if you have the better wave clear, better kill potential, or if you have the better tri lane over your opponent that you can dictate the pace of the game with. But more important than importantly than anything, excuse me, let me get water. Yeah, I know there is no map cursor. Sorry, I gotta find a way. Hold on, let me get my mouse cursor. It should show my mouse. I don't know. I chose to show my mouse. It's having a really hard time with this. So I'll work on that. Sorry, I don't know how to make that a thing. You see it more often now. But anyways, more importantly than anything, the value of this map over every other map in the game, the one thing that this map separates from all the other ones is that you cannot win the game through sieging. There is 0.0% chance that you can win the game while sieging. And what does that do for the game? Well, what that does is it makes essentially experience on this map is more valuable on this map than almost every other. And your answer to that question would be, that same would be just like, why? Why would that ever make that more valuable than every other map? But the reasoning for that is because team fighting is an absolute must. So on every other map in the game, you can say, screw the map objective, screw team fighting, we're just going to split push bottom and we're going to end the game that way. Awesome. Every map that's an option. Absolutely every single map you can threaten core except for this one, which forces team fights to be the most relevant thing at any way, shape, or form in time, everything else. You 100%, everything that you do is all team fight oriented. So that makes XP more valuable. So like, let's talk about a scary situation. Bam. These guys decide to spawn. You're going to have one spawn right here in the top left. You're going to have one spawn on the bottom half of the map, and you're going to have one spawn like right hand side, and you're going to have one spawn down here, right? All three of these are going to spawn and be a threat. If you are 16, level 16, and your opponent is not level 16, you are now going to win, most likely, as long as you make smart rotations, 2 out of 3 of these, which then leads to you a minimum of 8 shots. Most likely, it's not a minimum. Most likely, you're going to 8 shots to 4, everything else. Just as long as you hold that talent tier above your opponents, much like Blackheart's Bay, which we are going to be into in a little bit, this map, XP, is more valuable than everything. If you have to give up all the early shots, but you win the late game by being 2 levels above your opponent, by getting those forts and by getting all the camps and all the mercs pushing everything out, those late game death timers are worth way more than those early game shots. Way more. So do not lose. Do not worry about losing the early game. Be worried about your scaling to the late game when you play that map. This is more important than every other thing when it comes to this map. And it's one of the few that work this way. One of the very few when it comes to that. And so overall, when it comes to this map, you can run a 1-4, you can run a 1-1-3, but more importantly than anything, do not be willing to risk falling more than like a quarter of a level behind your opponent at level in the early half of the map, because your late game XP advantage is absolutely crucial. Also, when you're drafting, look to win team fighting heroes, not picking these, well, this is a really good laner. Like, I mean, I don't know who would a straightforward example would be. In my head, I think of Gazlo, but that's not true. So that is what you want to be looking for. So this is going to be Towers of the Doom. Not too much to talk about it, because a lot of it just comes down to smashing your face in your opponent and winning team fights. Infernal Shrines. Here we go. So this map is the one that is far unlike all the other maps in the game here. So what this does is this is going to be a tri-lane map where the merc camps essentially do nothing. Except for the shaman camps. So the shaman camps are the ones that spawn up here. This is shaman camp number 1, gods. The Diablo maps both have shaman camps, so always look out for those. And there's a shaman camp over here as well. This shaman camp really, really valuable. So both of these shaman camps are really awesome. Top lane is a really good timing, map objective, whatever, because of it. But really, when it comes to this map, how do you play this map? So this map as well, both lanes, top and bottom, being equally threatening. This one having a little bit more fog of war, but you can gank from behind your opponent. Meanwhile, on bottom, pretty much the exact same thing. The only difference here in this situation is people argue that this is a little bit shorter than this upper rotation here. So the typical rotation that you see on this map is a 1-1-3 or a 1-4. Again, you're going to see that on every map, but what if you are running the 1-4, what you're going to do at this time is you're actually going to the top lane is going to be the lane that you send your solo, and the bottom 2 are the ones you're going to rotate to, because look at the distance. The distance is actually shorter between these two. Then you worry about the map objective. Obviously, it's good. The minute you get the first map objective, do not push 5 people with the map objective. The map objectives are absolutely terrible. And the first 2 to 3 on this map, they are ass on this map. They do not do anything of usefulness. They literally just, all they're going to do is, congratulations, you get John Cena. He's going to go derp, 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 leap over the wall and suicide. Meanwhile, you're losing an immense amount of experience on mid and on top half of the map. So whenever you get the Punisher, do not worry about pushing as a 5-man with it. You want to send one person to soak one of the side lanes, one person to soak the other side lane, and then send at most 3 people to push with it. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it'd be a better call to send 3 people to split push a different lane and only send one person to push with John Cena. Now, you're on the back foot. You aren't the person capturing John Cena. You're on the defensive side. You're the one defending against John Cena. What do? Number one, you time. Okay, so he's got a leap phase and he's got a I'ma cast my crazy ass shit phase. When he's in his leap phase, do not bait it until you get it past the gate. That is one of the biggest mistakes, especially late game, you can ever make, is letting it get bonus siege. Like we said, this guy sucks ass at sieging. So why would you give him the opportunity to actually have like 8 seconds where he can siege for real? You always, what you do is like, oh man, my team got John Cena. Oh shit, it's pushing. My team wants to hide behind this gate. Hide behind the gate. Don't show it all. And then once he gets up to the gate, cast a spell and bait him over the wall. So like when you're on the offense, only send 3 people to deal with that. When you're on the defense, bait him over the wall and only send 3 people to defend. He's easy to defend too, guys. It's a miracle. It's a fucking miracle. Number 1. Another thing too is if you are fighting over the map objective, these shrines take for literally ever to capture. If your composition is not good at sustaining for long periods of time, you're going to have a bad time. That's not saying you should draft it, but you should understand whether or not your comp is good at it. And if your comp is very good at those long sustaining fights, don't force. Those 40 little midgets, I don't know what they are. They're really hard to kill fast. They take actually forever to do. So be patient with it. Do not rush into it. If you get a kill, you get a kill. Awesome. The biggest mistake I see at levels like 1 through probably 15 on this map, without a doubt, is the minute you get a kill, instead of worrying about the map objective, everybody worries about getting more kills, which then leads to, because of how stupidly long the map objective takes to get, leads to the other person rezzing, running all the way back to the objective, and then forcing a 5 versus 5 where you've taken so much poke, your team can't win it anymore, and you end up losing the objective. If you get those early game kills, you need to worry about, for the most part, this is general rules, remember, not overall, you need to worry about the map objective. Get the small win, get the pick, then get the map objective, back and forth. Any kind of poke, any kind of wave clear is great on the map, which is why you see the 1-4 strategy so dominant. So for the first 3, you aren't pushing with it. If you're on defense, you wait for it to do all its crazy casting shit, and then you bait it to leap over the wall. You constantly are doing this left and right. You just bait over the wall. You clear. And the downtime, Merc control is great, but really the only ones that really matter is these top 2. If you can wait to capture these after the first immortal phase, you time them with the second one, and the immortal spawns on the lower half of the map, you're going to get an insane amount of value out of this. Force your opponents to make a bad rotation, and then overcommit to the map objective. Or if you see it's pushing top, delay the map objective as long as you possibly can. Everyone just takes way too much time trying to cap these and worrying about them. Just if it's a convenient timing to split push, take it. Don't look to force it because it is kind of RNG based. But honestly, other than that, this map comes down to just understanding how to play the game. If your opponents are capitalizing on the map objective and they have level 16 and you don't have level 16, do not try and face roll in and fight them. Those Punishers suck. They're honestly one of the worst map objectives in the game. Do not risk your life for them. They will not end the game. Just go to a different lane. The map is huge. If that shit's on top, go bottom, push a front wall, get 16. You'll probably get more than that Punisher will anyways. Don't worry about it. Just be patient, be calm. This map is all about the long con. Excuse me. I'm so thirsty. Hold on. All right. But ultimately, that's the rest of this map. Is just do not think the map objective is great. Bait it over walls. Bait the force. Another thing is when you do get a huge advantage over your opponent, rather than instantly capping the map objective, if you wipe them and the map objective spawns, don't cap it instantly. Get everything except for one. all of them except for one, and then split push in all the side lanes and get soak in each one of those lanes. And if they rotate to the map objective, just spend one person to go top and then kill one more midget before they finish it off, and bam, you've stolen the Punisher and you've maintained soak in all the side lanes before to get the maximum advantage over your opponent, rather than just forcing it right away, because again, it's so poor at sieging that unlike things like DK, you don't want to cap it as early as you can. You actually want to get it while your team is ready to go and totally fight. So that is what you need to be doing when you play this map, is just patience. The 1-4 is good, the 1-1-3, but other than shaman timing, the rest of it comes down to just be willing to split push if you can't win the objective. If you do get small wins, concentrate on the objective, and don't think that John Cena is going to walk away with a free low win because he sucks ass. All right, second map and third map. All right, here. Battlefield of Eternity, not so aptly named because it actually takes literally forever to win this game on this map if you don't know what you're doing. So let's talk about, excuse me. All right, we got the water. All right, so let's start talking about this map. This map is one of the only, if the only 2-lane map in the current rotation for the time. I actually don't vape anymore. Snap effect, boys. Boom. Haven't vaped in like 2 weeks. Get wrecked. Anyways, so now let's talk about this map. Typically, 100% of the time, you're going to run a 1-4 rotation. You're going to want to have to send your best solo laner to be in the top lane is what most teams do. Personally, I think that's a little bit flawed on which lane the solo laner goes to. It all comes down to who pushes harder. It's a lot. That's more in depth than we really need to go. That's like professional level strategy, not just general approach. So send your solo laner to one lane, usually top. Send everybody, else to the other lane, and defend on the bottom half of the map. You 4 versus 4, you skirmish. If you don't have the early kill potential, don't worry about it. Don't force shit. If you do have the early game kill potential, force some shit. Then, the minute the map objective spawns, rotate to it. Get on it as soon as you possibly can. The map objective on this map, what I want to talk about, which I'll touch up more and more as this goes on, is just your timing on getting the map objective is absolutely crucial. I would rather you be on top of the map objective when it spawns than you be in a lane and then be slow to rotate, honestly. This is good. Hold on, I'm getting feedback right now. This is good, but many people have different ideas of what to do at any point in time. You're explaining what to do if the team acts as a hive mind, but most don't in this case. Honestly, what I'm telling you to do is to act on your own will on what's the smart choice. So, like, if your team isn't acting as a team and you decide to fight that 4 versus 5 where you don't have a talent tier either, how do I say this? Yes, your team is making the mistake, but you trying to help that shitty mistake is not going to help anything. There's some mistakes that are so big that you trying to help them is not going to change anything. But really, again, let's go back to this map. Sorry, I'll touch up on that in a little bit when we get done. But anyways, you run the 1-4. Great solo laners are going to be Sonya, Thrall. Sonya's a little quite sketchy now. Tassadar, Thrall, Zagara. Sonya used to be pretty good, still decent. Just anybody can hold their own in a lane, no matter what the lane is, and the rest of the people just go and smash each other in the bottom lane. Get on the map objective as soon as you possibly can. Always get on it and always burn it. Okay, so now if you're in a situation to where you don't know whether or not your team should be offensive or defensive, always be offensive. Because even if you lose the offensive race, at least you limit the shields. The shields are what make this guy effective. He's not very good in melee range. He becomes like John Cena in melee. When he has his shields is when he's scary. So burning the shields as much as you can, even if you're going to lose the race, is better than you defending the whole time and still losing the race. So always be offensive whenever you can on this map. Do not be defensive, which is the biggest mistake I see everybody make, is right out the gates they just go defend. 45 minutes later they end up losing the map objective and they're like, I don't know what happened. And then he's full health, you lost the map objective, and you gained no advantage anywhere else in the game. I definitely would suggest always be offensive. All right, so then, bam, the map objective comes, it spawns. What do? Send 4 people to push with it. Send 1 person to defend the lane that he's not in. Do not 5-man commit to that push. Always get XP. If you're not sending somebody to each and every lane before you're like at least level 13, you're doing it wrong. Have him isolate, go to the other lane. That same solo laner we took from level 1 goes to solo lane. Everybody else go push with the map objective. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. We're suddenly ahead of our opponents. Now, this is the Immortal phase is done. What do we want to be doing next? Merc control, merc control. Look to get mercs whenever you can. The only merc that really, really matters about your timing is going to be this merc, which stands over here. Again, it's the shamans. Always time your shaman. Always time your shaman to spawn at the same time as the shrine. I don't remember the exact timers. It's more of a feel thing for me. It's usually around like 5 minutes ish, maybe 4:30 if everything goes to plan at this point, where this is going to need to be taken. But it warns you 15 seconds for the first immortal and then 30 beyond that point. That when you see that, get this shit. It is the most powerful camp of the game, and it's going to be split pushing at any point. So you definitely want to be getting onto this. Somebody in chat is saying, what do you do if your team is yelling at you when you do such things that are smart, but because they don't get it? Honestly, hit the ignore button. Literally hit tab, go over, ignore. It's not worth your time. You should be trying to make the smart decision making always. What if you're the lean being and the only person in your brain, and you should just ditch your team and soak the other lane? Honestly, yeah, the XP is worth more than anything else. All right, so now when we get done with this situation, all right, so we got the camp, and now it's going to be split pushing. So now that it's split pushing, the minute they commit anybody to answer to this absurdly strong camp, you force the fight as best you can in a 4 versus 5. You do that over and over again whenever you possibly can on this map. Again, offense is your best defense. If you don't know where to go, be offensive. And pretty much the rest of this map comes down to just not taking bad fights. That's all it is. Understanding, do I have a talent here? If on opponent over my opponent, if yes, proceed to fight. Do I have a 5 versus 4? If yes, proceed to fight. Do I not have a talent tier? Am I on the same talent tier? If the answer is no, do not fight. Always be trying to just run around your opponent, getting whatever you can, just not forcing anything stupid that you don't need to at any point. These mercs on the side are just like, they're helpful, but they don't do anything. It's all about this one over here, and then being offensive rather than defensive is a general rule for this map. Definitely the way that I would tell you to play it. All right, so there's obviously more complex intricacies when it comes to each of these, but you guys want to kind of like the TLDR version of how to play. When you mean offensive, do you mean attack the immortal or the opponents? You attack the opponent's immortal. I guess, well, it's in theory, it's your immortal too. Whatever immortal you can kill, you kill that one. Do not worry about fighting them. Do not fight them. You kill the immortal. Just kill the immortal, and if they come to defend you, you're winning. Just walk away. Just walk away, because you know they're doing exactly the same mistake that if the tides return. So if they defend, just nope the hell out of there. Wait for them to back up, try and be offensive, come back in and do damage. Your proximity to the actual immortal is a benefit for you in every way, shape, and form. Do not force things. Patience is absolutely crucial on every map, and it's a mistake a lot of players have. You shouldn't push the first immortal. Better to get another wall. Yes, I think that's a situational thing, all on the health, the comp, and a lot of other variables. As a general rule, sending 1 man to soak the side lane and 4 to push with it is, in my opinion, the best general strategy you should be having for this map. Because if your opponents are trying to defend their immortal, eventually you're going to be doing more poke on them than anything. Isn't a fight over the enemy's immortal an advantage because it can stun? It is, which is why you just walk away. You just don't let them actually force it, and then you get poke back on it, and then you back away. You get poke on it, you back away, and because your proximity is closer, eventually you win. And guess what? Because they haven't been doing any offense on their part, they now have an immortal that's full health. That's why offense is your best defense on this map. Always. All right, so that's the general rules for this map. Tomb of the Spider Queen. I hate this map, personally. General rules for this map. Mercs don't matter at all, really. They're just something you get whenever you get bored and there's nothing else to be doing. Coins are the most important thing. So now let's talk about the 1-4. This is one of the 2 maps that the 1-4 strategy is the most valuable strategy in the game, and we'll go over why you do what you do here. I hate this map because I feel like it's a little snowball if you play it properly. Okay, so let's go. They're not coins, they're gems. You're not wrong. All right, so let's go over this point. So the map here is a really interesting map. So let's talk about the inconsistencies within the map design that we didn't see earlier that I was talking about when in why Tomb is such a different map. Let's go with so you see on this bottom half of the map that the lane is actually sitting to where if you are on bottom and you're solo 1v1ing down here, you have Zagara versus somebody Thrall, and you're both are derping down here. The gank ability of this lane, because of this smoke, this little wall and this smoke, is actually less than in the top lane. So like if I'm gonna gank you in this situation, I'm not gonna be able to come up behind you to kill you to ensure that you die, which is why this lane is the safest lane and why you typically send your solo laner to bottom than the other ones. Because look at on top. If you went on top and you were up here and you're soloing, it's so easy to just come up behind you and kill you that you never see people send their solo top for the most part. So you send your solo to bottom lane because it's the safest lane. And now because these two lanes are very, very shallow, what you typically do is you run a 1-4 and you just 4-man clear on mid, 4-man clear on top, 4-man clear on mid, and what that does is it drains ammo on the front walls, right? So you're going to see the drained ammo come out, which leads to then free front walls. When your opponent makes a mistake of trying to gank bottom and not successfully getting that, then you get a free front wall on top. You get to win the turn in. So now as long as your bottom lane's doing well, they're going to be the guy who's the sole defender of the bottom turn in, while your 4-man rotations going from mid top are going to drain the front wall as free XP. But not only that, you're going to be dominating one of the turn ins. So as long as the other turn in isn't getting taken advantage of in any way, shape, or form, then you're going to be totally fine. And as long as that's your bottom laner's responsibility, the rest of you should be concentrating on this. Win the turn in. When you get the first turn in, run a 1-1-3, push in the lane that your opponents are, get a huge XP lead, then send one person to goaltend the upper half of the map, and one to goaltend the bottom half of the map, soak the other lanes, and pretty much all you do from that point on is just goaltend, force your advantage whenever you get it, like you do on every other map. This map is honestly all about seeds and all about turning in, and then the only other thing that's really threatening is the boss, and only in the late game when timed with the web weavers is something to consider. It's much like Blackheart's Bay. If you kill the guy with seeds, you're pretty much going to win the game because they aren't going to be able to counter turn in. But like I said, the knights almost invaluable on this map. Giants are pretty useless as well. The only thing I would suggest on this map is that this chokehold is so long to be able to get a flank on your opponent, because this bottom lane is so long. It's something that you should abuse a little bit more with rotations between mid and bottom. And then other than that is just stopping all the little gems, seeds, coins, whatever they are, and dealing with those whenever you can, trying to stop your opponent from turning in. And like I said, goaltending. Set a committed goaltender to try and help defend these two, stop your opponent from turning in, wait till you get the XP lead, then force the fight. It's much like Blackheart's in that sense, but the fight has 2 turn-ins and it's a lot riskier. So, when are you going to take a short break? I have coaching soon, so I can't actually do this forever. So I'll probably do every map and then I'll be done. I'm sorry. But here we do see a situation.
Dread, can you also explain big dick damage? Thanks, BAE.
I can explain big dick damage. It's just doing a lot of damage. I other than that, I don't know. But other than that, this map, like I said, it's all about goaltending, winning the 1-4, rotating between mid-bot. You're going to realize that gives you a huge advantage over your opponents. It's going to give you free front walls. It's going to get you the first turn in. Those front walls are going to lead to more of an advantage when you get the web weavers pushing in your favor. Your solo laner is going to be doing fine on the bottom half of the map, and this is pretty much the TLDR version of how to play Tomb of the Spider Queen. It's just rotate 4-1, 4-1, 4-1, turn in, and proceed to then run a 1-1-3 with the web weavers, at least for the first one. Past that point, you can commit a 4 to 5 man depending on your advantage over your opponents. And then after that, the most valuable lane, if you have to push any lane, is going to be top compared to every other lane, because there is the threat potential of boss on this map. So top lane is the most valuable lane in the game, whereas bottom is less valuable. That's strange because most maps bottom is actually the most valuable map in the game, or lane in the game. So a little bit of a switch up here. So if you only have the option to choose bottom or top, push top, because again, the boss is your legal. That's your choke point. That's how you win the game. Other than that, I don't think there's really any general strategy to this game. It's all kind of situational, comp dependent, and everything else, and just understanding how to play the video game. So all right, so we're going to move on to the next map here. Sky Temple, finally one I actually really enjoy. Sky Temple is one of my favorite maps. TLDR, what should you be doing on this map? So right out the gates, you have the option. Your solo laner goes to the bottom half of the map because the rotation is pretty far. And then also people want to contest over site, and that's where the first 2 shrines are going to go. You're going to send him to bottom because the rotation, if he's winning the lane, is going to be really valuable. He can get a front wall. If not, he can rotate up and help out here. It's just a really good solo lane. So on bottom, you always send your best solo laner. And mid, you can run 3 people there, or you can run a 1-4 type strategy again, or you can run like a one person top lane, 1 person bottom lane, and then this 3-man rotates that clears out a mid and then goes top and helps up there. Controlling site is absolutely crucial on this map. And then so the skirmishes come out, you both are even, whatever the map objective spawns. What do? Mid is technically the most valuable shrine by a little bit, just in theory, because it's going to get you 1 extra turret over your opponent, because it'll focus this turret before the top one will focus only this back turret. Excuse me, that was really bad. It'll only focus this back turret once the fort's dead, so it's a little bit of an XP lead. Not enough to really justify. Also a Snapple fact for those who don't know, this guy provides a lot of XP in the early game. Make sure you get the last hit on him. He gets a lot of XP from both of them. And then again, if you have the stronger early game, I would suggest dominating site and dominating the shots here. And then what you can do for the most part is just try and win the fight here, win the shots. And then if you aren't able to win the early game, then rotate and try and capture on top. The team to get on the shrine first almost always wins.
Out in front of 4 girls in the red light district of Amsterdam, and I have no idea how I got into this situation.
Rexy Overlord, welcome to the Dreadnaught Club. Thank you for resubscribing for the 8th month in a row. But ultimately, we're in a situation to where if you cannot win this early game at all, and you're going to rotate to top, or what I was talking about was who gets on the shrine. So let's say you get on the shrine first, and your opponent doesn't cap the shrine on top, right? And you're getting like half the shots on mid, and then they finally contest. Just walk away, and then rotate to top and finish the cap on here. If you get half the shots on one, and then all the shots on the other, you're going to be in a very good and advantageous situation. So I definitely suggest that. Do not be willing to contest this mid shrine if you do not have sight. The flank points from this or from this are too valuable to be risking your positioning. The only place they can't see you is right here is when they start to lose sight. I'm sorry, I can't show my mouse, so I had to do it like that. So that is why that's a bad decision. And then you're going to see that the shrines are going to spawn. So now here's a general rule to use just so you don't have to keep track of the timers. The minute that you see the mid and top shrine finish going down, wait for 2 minion waves. So you're going to see 1 minion wave spawn and then another minion wave spawn. When that happens, look to get your knight or giants, and then when that is done, look to get your knights. Your knights will then be timed with the bottom shrine pushing on the upper half of the map, and then you'll be able to rotate down to this bottom section and commit to a fight where you'll have knights pushing on the upper half of the map. There are a lot of counter strategies to this where you don't need to do this route. It is optimal. This is a TLDR kind of version. There are literally 20 different ways you can play this in between phase 1 and 2 of the shrines that all give you an advantage if you play it better than your opponent. But that's like the simplest, most basic way of what you should be doing on this map when you're trying to understand it, is wait for the 2 waves, get the knights or giants, get the knights, they'll push top, and then you commit to a fight on bottom while your knights push on the upper half of the map. If you have spare time clearing their knights is better if they do that. Then rotate to the fight and proceed to take it on bottom. If you can't win the fight, then soak the side lanes, push on top, do anything but forcing the fight down there. Usually 10 is achieved right around this shrine, so if your opponent's gonna hit 10 before you, do not rotate to the shrine. Do not rotate to the shrine at all. All right, so now for the general approach to the rest of the game, I talked about there is no other general strategy for the most part other than the next phase is going to be a shrine on top or middle and then bottom 100%. So one thing I want to talk about is how bottom is actually the most valuable lane in the game. If you're constantly trading over your opponents, what you need to do is essentially trade bottom more importantly than every other lane. So not only does it provide potential sight over the boss if your opponent contests, but it's also one of the most, if not the most frequent shrine that spawns in the entire game on this, or on the entire map. Bottom spawns almost, I think, more than every other one. If not, it's pretty close to the rest. And what it also does is it's next to the boss, but then boss also is going to be threatening the lanes if you manage to capture it where you captured a shrine. So So if you get the bottom shrine more often than your opponents, now your boss is going to be threatening a keep, threatening core. So you're in a good situation at that point. So bottom is almost always the more valuable lane, but not by a large margin on this map. And also remember sight for mid if you're going to contest. And then other than that, it's just general Heroes of the Storm rules. There's no map-specific strategy to this past that point. It's like not taking stupid fights. Everything else is not really that crazy. So that would be Sky Temple. For you guys, again, both a 1-1-3 or a 1-4 work. I prefer a 1-1-3 on this map, but that's just me. Oh, shit. This map is so hard. I'm going to save this one for last. Holy cow. Blackheart's Bay is honestly the least balanced map in the world, and it's just actually cancer. So what I'm going to talk about here is on this map, the most important thing that you want to run is run a really good solo lane on the bottom lane, and then you want to have for the rest of the map, you pretty much just want to make sure that you have a really good 4-man that rotates here between mid and bot, mid and bot, mid and bot, dominate site and everything else. And then at some point, you're going to set one of those 4 to break off. Keep in mind, okay, actually, let me talk about general strategy. One person's going to go bottom. The rest of you is going to derp up here. Clear the top wave as soon as you can. Clearing that top wave will then force your opponents to answer on whether or not they want to get that wave of XP or they want to get the chest. The chest will spawn in 50 seconds. Commit to the chest, get the coins, win the game. Then rest of the time, you're going to 4-man rotate between mid and top, mid and top, mid and top. At 1 minute and 55 seconds, one of you is going to separate who's really good at getting camps on his own, or not camps on his own. He's gonna be a good jungler, and then he's gonna go off and he's gonna get all these pyre camps, and he's gonna get the pyre camps up here, and he's just gonna collect as many coins as he possibly can and try and turn in for free when he can, but don't risk death at any point for the turn-ins. And then wait till your team just gets an advantage at any point, whether it be a team fight, whether it be XP, anything. With this strategy, usually it happens somewhere. You get the turn-in, you get the XP lead, and then just collect as many coins as you possibly can. The reason for that is because the coins on this map not only give you a night camp, but then they also or a camp to push, but then they also provide you the map objective. So then while the knight is pushing, the giants are pushing, while anything is pushing, you wait for your opponents to either 1, react to that camp, or 2, not react, and if they react to it, you force the turn in. If they don't react to it, then you just get value out of it for free and delay the turn in as best as you can. From that point on, the chest, just getting on them whenever you can. I don't remember the exact timer on those. I think it's like 2 minutes. Again, I kind of play off feel more than timing, to where I'm like the chests are about to spawn, but this is also probably my worst map when it comes to that. So the rest of it, again, is just collecting as many coins as you can, waiting till you get a talent to your advantage, and then turning in. One side strategy you can do if you have like a Tassadar or a really good survivable solo laner is just have him stay in these shrubs and goaltend as best as he possibly can whenever he can. But honestly, this map is really just about getting the coins, getting the mercs, and then only taking smart fights. And if you do that, you'll literally win every time, because this map is so unbalanced that if you get an XP lead and you have a coin advantage lead, there's essentially no way to lose the game as long as you only take smart fights. So again, just getting all the mercs is really crucial, and that's going to be the basic strat for this one. Again, pushing on top and then 4-man rotating between mid and bottom is absolutely really important. Just clear, rotate, turn in, bam. Your jungler is getting all the coins. Everything's awesome. Everybody's working together. Your bottom lane's doing well, and that's really just all you need to be doing. And again, if they rotate to bottom to gank because the gap is so big, you can rotate up top, take out free front walls, which will then make your turn in next be more valuable, especially if you get one turret on mid and then secures the free fort at the beginning. So if your opponent has a mule at 7, if you take out that free turret, then you won't actually have to worry about them being able to mule up the fort. That's another small strategy that you're going to be able to use. But overall, this map is very simple. There are no map specific strats other than just collect the coins. Haunted Mines, I don't even know if this is worth talking about until it's implemented or changed. I'm going to avoid it for now. Cursed Hollow, in my opinion, the most not the most complex, the best map, one of the best maps they made. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's so dependent on bosses for lethal, but other than that. So ultimately at this point in time, all right, so what are we going to be looking to do here? When you're on this map, you can run a 1-1-3 is what I would suggest at almost all times, or a 1-1-1 with a 2-man roam squad. If you do run a 1-1-1 with a 2-man roam squad, obviously you're going to have to respond to their 1-1-3, which is why I suggest that in the first place. But ultimately, other than that, there is no just winning the early game as best you can, making smart laning choices, and everything else. Nothing too crazy out of it. And then the minute that you see this spawn at 1 minute and 50 seconds, you pull people back. You can get your giant camp, so it might split push at the same time as the map objective. Pretty much all you want to do is wait for the map objective to spawn, get the curse, and then back out, take a camp, and that camp will start split pushing at the same time as the next tribute's going to spawn, so it forces your opponents to make bad rotations. Winning the rotation and out-rotating your opponents probably more important than the XP, at least in a non-competitive strategy. I would say that's the better, safer strat, is always rotate before your opponent, and make sure you get the cap. But other than that, really a lot of it just comes down to making smart rotations, understanding that there might be a shrub that could blow you, or a party bush that somebody could be in to be able to blow you up at any points, and then taking the night camp and the giant camp to split push, getting the curse. When you get the curse, never split or get a merc camp. Always be pushing as hard as you possibly can. When you get the curse, what I'd like to see you do, in theory, the best strategy is let's say you get a curse and we are the red team. What I want to talk about is a really complex strategy that only few of you... I did skip Dragonshire. You are right. I'll get back to that. I apologize. One thing I do want to talk about, though, is if you're a red team and you get this curse, it's a minion stacking strategy that you can really do. It's really basic, and it's honestly the best strategy that you should have when you run on this map as a general TLDR. What you want to do is... okay, so you get the curse, right? What I'd like to see you do is push on bottom and take out this front wall and then half of the fort, but not finish the fort. The mini waves will stack up, and respond to this bottom fort. Then what you do is you rotate to mid lane and you push on this and you get as much as you can. You get this fort as fast as you can. Awesome. Then when you get done with this, it's not rocket science. If you have time, you take up top fort as well. If you don't have time, you back out and you take your boss. So now you're in a situation where they either answer to you taking boss with like 10 seconds left on the curse, or they don't. If they don't answer to you at boss, you get a boss for free. You can push the top fort right after. If they do answer to it, remember how you only took half the fort on bottom here? What that did is stacked a shit ton of XP, like literally levels worth of XP down here, and it's going to start pushing, and it's going to reach to the keep front wall here. And when it reaches this front wall, if none of them are there to soak, they're going to lose more XP than just by capturing your boss and stealing it from you. So if they do not respond to this and they answer to you, you just let them have it. You're gonna be able to clear that boss easy. It's not very valuable. But it's a free boss. So then you're able to. They're gonna be down here getting all the soak, and then you're able to get this boss for free. So it's a really basic strategy there. Not really hard, but it's really. Honestly, the fact that not everybody does this as a basic approach to this game just blows my mind, really, especially with that wave stack there. But there you go. So then you have a free boss. Now you have the option, do we take out the fort for free or do we take their boss? Honestly, their boss isn't going to do jack shit. I would prefer taking out the top fort. And then from that point on, it's just understanding bosses versus curses, what's important, what's not, taking XP advantages and everything else. But yeah, the minion stacking thing's a little bit too advanced for Hero League, but it is something you can do. It's still best to push that lane. Honestly, it still is best. Just push the opposite lane of your boss, push the middle lane, and then take your boss is a really good general approach to this map. But it is something to think about with the minion stacking. What else is there? By wall, do you include the towers or just the side walls? The entire front wall. The turrets are the most important because they give XP, and then the gate is the last. What else is there? Dragonshire, my favorite map. I have coaching in 5 minutes, I believe. Let me check. I do, in fact, have coaching in 5 minutes. All right, so give me 1 second. All right, so I'm gonna skip Dragonshire because I already have a guide. I know I don't want to be the guy who plugs this, but because I only have 4 minutes and this is a map that I've already written a very extensive guide on tempostorm.com at, you guys look it up there. I'm gonna go to Garden. I'm gonna go to Garden of Terror. So Garden of Terror is a map where no lane gains a direct advantage. Obviously, kind of they do. Top is easier to gank behind if you are the blue team. Red bottom, it's mirrored. It's not that crazy. More than anything, you typically want to run a 1-1-3 or a 1-1-1 with a 2-man roam squad. Then concentrate on getting the map objectives. If you have the aggressive early game, always position yourself to take the aggressive set of seeds, the one closer to your opponents. Always make that rotation the second that they spawn. It's a really heavy misconception that people don't understand about this map. It's the small camps that win this map, not the big ones, not that stupid ass shambler thing and everything else. It's very much just going to the small camps whenever you possibly can and getting those really add up when it comes to the later parts of the map. Other than that, what else do you see? You're in a situation to where if your opponents rotate and capture on one half the map, just make sure you win on the other one. Take smart team fights only. Nothing too insane when it comes to this map and the overall approach to it. Again, once the terror seeds end, getting mercs in your downtime to split push with the terror is very, very important. So get the merc control, get the mercs everyone that you reasonably can, and then grab the terror. Then do a 1-1-3, much like you would if you were on like Infernal Shrines, for instance. But anyways, it's a situation where it's ultimately that you are sorry, I read chat and I got distracted. I'll run a 1-1-3 to where the Garden Terror pushes the side lane where there's no mercs. The mercs are all pushing in. The Garden Terror pushes the side lane like top, and then you 3-man push the opposite lane, so they have to answer to respond to top or bottom. The Terror sucks ass if they respond to it. It's useless. But the Terror sucks ass only if you aren't gaining something somewhere else. So if you force them to answer a front wall on bottom or a free Terror pushing on top, you never want to group up with this first Terror. It's just not worth. Always run that 1-1-3 and split push with it up until at least the first 2 phases, most likely. And then at that point, seeds are going to be one of the most valuable things in the entire game at all points. Then once you get done with that, again, the map objective, rotating, structural disadvantage. Like if your opponent's on bottom half of the map and you know it, just look to get free forts everywhere. All you got to do is make sure you make the aggressive rotations to getting on the seeds whenever you possibly can. Run a 1-1-3 or a 1-1-1 with a 2-man roam squad. Get the terror, get the mercs, split push for the first 2, and then group up as a 5-man and actually decide to fight. If your opponents are answering to fight on the upper half of the map, like over a map objective or something else, and you have terror and it's early, don't fight with them. The terror sucks ass in team fights early. You go to the opposite side of the map and you split push. You take out their keep. You do something crazy. You don't risk your own life. Don't die. If they respond to you, back out, but then you win up here. This game on this map is all about making your opponent decide between the lesser of 2 evils. And up until about level 20, does that change because the map objective becomes so powerful. It's the strongest hero in the game. And so that's really crucial. Dodging polys is a really big thing. And other than that, there's not too much when it comes to this map. That would be my my TLDR version of each one of these maps before I have to coach here. Each one of these have way more variables and situations to where I can tell you what the right call is or something else at a different time. What's the best hero to take the terror? Never your tank, never your healer, in any of the maps where you get somebody in it. Never put those 2. Always put the squishiest or most useless hero when it comes to team fighting. So whatever one's risking death by being outside of it is the one you want to be in it. That's a really good question there. Sorry about that. But again, I might go a little bit more in depth and do more content when it comes to answering the questions about how to play each map. But hopefully you guys can definitely gain something from watching what I just, said when it came to each and every one of these maps. I hope you guys did end up walking away with some kind of knowledge on all of it. Again, there we go. And I want to say a big shout out. We had a lot of new people donating today. We had a lot of